Alright, I can sense a buzz coming. What are the chances of him arriving? For a direct overhead, here he comes, black and white. Your arrival home, Buzz. Could be a hologram, believe it or not, friends. Gang stalking for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. Here he goes. Your taxes.
They're ugly.
They're ugly looking lizard, alligator type people.
In the most recent decades, there have been active conspiracies that lizard people walk among us disguised as celebrities and other public figures.
If you guys haven't seen the recent videos by Nick Fuentes on Rumble exposing Tucker Carlson's CIA connections, and I just watched another 2.5-hour video. I watched one before that actually, the reason I watched it is because it was on Jimmy Dore's channel on BitChute, and that was a fantastic video. And then I finished watching this other one. I went to Nick J. Fuentes' channel on Rumble, and if you guys haven't checked that out, friends, I can tell you that is one mind-blowing revelation that I never knew about Tucker Carlson, okay? And because I always liked him, and when I watched that full interview that he did with Candace Owens, and I didn't even know Nick Fuentes. I just knew of him peripherally, but you should check it out for yourself. I might post one of his movies, except I think that I think Nick Fuentes, if I understand correctly, he, like some other people, have just been totally banned from YouTube and Twitter and everything, you know, most Facebook and all that, because they are supposedly anti-Semites for their views. Now, I was watching this guy. I just have to say, I do not. I'm talking about Nick Fuentes. I do not think that he is a hate monger. I think what's happening is that because I've investigated this myself, and I saw that, you know, there really is a problem of the loyalties of the American secret government establishment, namely the CIA, NSA, FBI, basically being overrun by Jews who are, their interest is in the primary protection and care, as is natural, of their home country of Israel. And what what happens is it's to our expense, and as Nick Fuentes was very well putting it, you know, people were saying that, you know, people with last names that are non-Jewish are going to go and die in their wars. Okay. Now, but I was thinking about this, you know, about the whole problem of this this situation. And one thing I just was realizing, first thing before that, when I was thinking of the problem of Donald Trump and that corruption, was some kind of new law that we could pass about no rich man for president. But I was thinking about this problem with the problem of people with dual citizenship, or their loyalty is in a country besides America. So what happens is, if they're powerful and get control, like Jews are, they're very competent, they're very powerful, and they have a disproportionate representation, and then they basically take over and put the interests of their country ahead of Americans. What we should do is pass our own laws, a law saying that that prevents America from giving any foreign aid to other countries until we've taken care of our own, until there is, you know, a clear taking care of our people first, and then we can give aid to other countries. And it wouldn't just be Israel, it'd be all countries. Okay. Any countries that we give foreign aid to, we give foreign aid to all these countries around the world, supposedly for CIA, NSA, secret, black ops, government, off the books, mostly off the books operations that they claim for national security that needs to be kept secret, but the American people don't know about it. And meanwhile, we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, billions of dollars to Israel, billions of dollars to some weird Mexican country you've never heard of to support homosexual training, in making plays. I'm serious. You get stuff like this. You get stuff like this. You heard Trump read it out. It's not fake. It's real. They really are doing this. And I think that the American people, by and large, could get behind some kind of bill to say, look, no money, and I mean zero, gets sent to other nations until we have a fix for the homeless problem, for instance, until we have a fix for our corrupt just about everything in this country, but especially situations where we've got rampant homelessness, dirty and unsafe streets, crime everywhere, and cities, especially big cities like I live in, Los Angeles, that are turned into a shithole because of total mismanagement, total lack of us caring about our own country first. And we're sending billions to these other countries to do what? Why are we sending billions to Israel? Why? What? Because they might get the shit blown out of them by Arab countries that don't like them, and looks like now they got a goddamn good reason not to like them. But I want to say on this problem of this conspiracy, which, by the way, as you guys may have known, I posted about this, and most of the movies that I posted about it, YouTube took down. But I posted about how I read Henry Ford's book, The International Jew, and other documentaries, and I read the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, which is basically a blueprint on how to destroy regular white European countries with corruption, ignorance, greed, drugs, pornography, and all this stuff, so that it's so depraved and chaotic and messed up, then essentially the Jews can swoop in and fix it and become the new saviors and masters.
So an interesting question is, who do you think God favors in that debate between Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes? And did you see that Candace Owens deleted that episode from her channel? Couldn't find it anywhere, but luckily somebody else, in fact several other people, have posted it. And they complained in the Tucker Carlson Candace Owens interview that Candace complained that Nick Fuentes had attacked her mercilessly, and just not even being a gentleman about it, But I watched that, and all she did that whole time was to attack Nick, and she played this one clip, and then for the entire interview, all they did was argue about that, and basically she was attacking him. And I came away thinking that even though I think Nick was inaccurate in what he said about her agreeing to talk with him through those screenshots, and she showed the screenshots, and I do think that she was right, that he was inaccurate. But altogether, I found myself thinking that she was kind of being petty and attacking for some weird reason that seemed off. Like, if you're going to have somebody on, is the point to bring them on and then attack them and make them look bad, rather than having some kind of useful conversation? Because that ended up being, or actually it was kind of irritating to watch, because it was just two people basically arguing the whole time. Like, and he was kind of trying to be lighthearted about it, and say, hey, look, okay, maybe it was a little bit over the top, whatever, but I'm making my point here. And she just kind of seemed like, very condemning and very, very negative towards him. Whereas, if you don't like somebody that much, don't have him on, and then don't blame him for the fact that that when Nick Fuentes made a movie commenting about his interview with Candace Owens, when he in that interview complains about her and what she's doing. Don't complain about him complaining when you invite him on and all you do is try to bash him as this, like bad person. I have to say, I have not watched Nick Fuentes at length. I've watched 3 of his movies all the way to the end because they were that good, and I think I'm going to try at least posting excerpts, if not the whole episode, especially this one, Tucker Carlson's CIA Connections. But also Jimmy Dore had posted the second part of a 2-part series that he did, Tucker Carlson Exposed, which was quite good, and that's actually what got me to watching the Nick Fuentes material, because I had only just peripherally heard of him. All I had heard about him was that he had been basically banned from social media and debanked. So he was banned from social media and debanked, kicked off of PayPal, and I don't know, it sounds if he's debanked, like they actually closed his bank accounts, which that's some really scary stuff. Because he did, his history was he started out as a young man interested in politics, and he was in college and everything, and he just ran right into the obvious question, like it's right there, like the elephant in the room. Why are we sending all this money to Israel? What's the issue? And for this, he was kicked out of the political club that he was in college, and then also the people that were in it, that were Jews, continuously called around and tried to, called him anti-Semite and all that stuff, and he was just asking questions. And I think he was quite reasonable. And I come away from this now, not only I feel very impressed and sympathetic with Nick Fuentes, and I like him so far. Now, like I said, I haven't watched a whole lot of his stuff, but just from what I've seen, I do not think that he is an anti-Semite. I do not think he's a hateful, weird, bad person at all. I don't get that, and I don't think he's unfair. And not only that, but he's courageous and well-spoken and does great research. Like I said, totally beyond my capabilities. Okay, I can't even speak nearly as well as he can. He can remember these, names and dates and everything. He puts it all together and sits there for 2.5 hours talking without flubbing his speech or having to cut like I always have to do. But that's pretty impressive. But just on an overall spiritual sense, I wanted to say, who do you think God favors now? Okay, now that we see Tucker Carlson is essentially a CIA smear man. Okay, and that interview showing with the expose on Tucker Carlson, that was eye-opening. I mean, I have a whole different feeling now about Tucker Carlson. I never knew all that stuff until someone smart and articulate investigates and sees and looks into this and shows us what's going on. And it's very interesting. I didn't even think of anything while I was watching that interview of Tucker Carlson with Candace Owens, and I like both of them. And I wasn't even, I was thinking, well, if they were calling this guy, I wasn't even kind of like, my mind wasn't even focused on like, oh, it's just some guy there calling a child and gay and, in his mother's basement making videos or what all they said about him, and that he was an anti-Semite, hateful, person. I didn't even think about it until I saw the posting of Jimmy Dore on BitChute. He had actually posted on BitChute. He didn't post it on his YouTube channel, which I understand. Yeah, I understand. You speak against the Jews. You say something about the Jews. You go on the ADL's target list. I think I'm already on it. But unlike Nick Fuentes, I backed off because I realized that I'm not popular like he is, and I couldn't get the rest of my message out about the Lord and about the reptilians if I continued to talk about the Jews, because I would get right in the crosshair. They'd kick me off. YouTube would deplatform me, and that's my best. Even though it's highly shadow banned, and they're just constantly subtracting. I remember I had a 92,700 subscribers, over 700. Now it's gone back down to 6. They constantly subtract. I watch it go down. It's not because people find my latest views unfavorable. Of course, that's going to happen occasionally, but if you were watching it the way I have, you'd know that it's a total hit, there's some, and many other channels have reported this, just so you know. It's not paranoid if you're hearing this for the first time. They do this to all the people that they don't like. Jimmy Dore, they do it to. Russell Brand, they do it to. All these people. But yeah, I just thought it was that whole exchange between Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes really put on the map for me Nick Fuentes. And now I currently, I mean, like I said, I've got to do more research, got to watch more of his videos and see what's up. But hearing him tell his story on that movie that Candace Owens deleted from her channel of her interview with him, I was like, wow, this guy, I mean, he just as a young, smart, politically interested person, political science kind of person, just immediately as an 18-year-old in college ran into this Jewish question, the Israel question, and when people shunned him and said, you shouldn't talk about that, and he said, well, but we're sending billions of dollars every year to Israel, and they're not a poor country. What's up with that? I want to know. And he kept pushing the issue, and so for that, he was banned. Man, he was smeared, he was banned, he was kicked off. And I find that scary, disgusting, and brings up what I found in my investigation of the Jewish question, and that anger, that resentment of what they're doing. I think if I were Jewish, okay, and I was looking at this, I would be deeply, deeply ashamed and uncomfortable with what's going on and what the history apparently is. And then I watched this other movie that Nick Fuentes published about about how the neocons came into being, and they actually were the original neocon establishment was started by all these publications of liberal Jews from big cities. Yeah, and he explains the whole thing. And it's fascinating, and it absolutely matches the MO that we see of Jews, which is the gaslighting, the silencing of anybody who speaks against them, the smearing, and the complete disconnect from reality of seeing themselves and how they're behaving, that weird disconnect, and then vilification of anybody who begins to notice this set of characteristics, which I have personally encountered in my life with Jews in my family, okay, and Jews that I have known personally and met locally. And so it's weird how it matches every time, that smearing, that vilification, that disconnect from reality, the gaslighting, blaming others for what you yourself do, gaslighting, but as I have said, what I believe is happening is that it's the naughty figs, okay? The naughty figs need to have this experience.
Raptor!